Claude plugins aren't just valuable for businesses, they're even more valuable to consultants. Everyone's talking about plugins as productivity tools. Install sales, install marketing, get more done, and that's fine. But if you're a consultant, the real opportunity is this. You can diagnose a business's problems, build the skills that solve them, and package the whole thing into one plugin as an expert-driven tailored operating system. In this video, we're going to take a look at plugins under the hood to find out how. So instead of solely focusing on the perspective of how this is valuable to businesses, because the value is obvious for them, I'm going to be focusing this video on the value for the builders, because for you guys, it's even more valuable and there's a massive opportunity here. So the idea behind plugins is that you package your skills, you can deploy them anywhere, and you can scale them to any single client. I have a whole video that covers this on the AI operating system or business in a box model. I show you how to do everything step by step and talk you through how you can create this business in a box model. For this video, we're going to focus solely on the plugins. I'm going to do a deep dive because I did promise that in that longer video. So if we come and have a look at the problem here, skills are amazing and they work on your machine, on anyone's machine really, but the problem is the distribution, and that's really what plugins solve over here. Because we've built all of these skills, they're on our local machine, maybe our teammates want to use them though. Maybe some of our clients see this stuff because we posted on YouTube and they're like, wow, I want that functionality. But then to go and do that, you would either have to copy it manually, you could send it to them, you could share it in Git and things like that, but they would still have to go and copy and paste or set this up in their environment. And this is where this model becomes interesting for you, because with the plugin, you do all of this. You package everything up, and once it's connected, you can distribute it to whoever you want and provide a customized solution exactly for them. Because with a plugin wrapper, it's just one install. Everything is connected, it works on anyone's machine instantly, and it takes you less than 30 seconds if you've done it properly during the setup phase. Point is here, you're taking what works on your machine and making it available for anyone's machine with this business in a box model. So let's take a deeper look at what's actually inside a plugin. And it normally has three components that you put into an installable package. So you package the logic and all they really need to do is bring the credentials. So the first thing that we have is skills, and this is the most important and fundamental aspect in Claude Code at the moment because it's a super efficient way to get work done, especially for those repeatable systems that you have, and we'll cover a few of those soon. Again, I do have a video covering a deep dive into skills specifically. I recommend you cue that one next if you haven't seen it already. But skills essentially take your domain expertise and they turn it into a repeatable workflow that people can use in any one of their businesses. Next up, we have commands, and these just kind of tag along with skills. It's basically just / commands that trigger specific workflows. And again, you can either trigger this yourself or you can make it run on a cron job or a scheduled task, or you can attach it to another workflow. Many things you can do with commands, but they're essentially running the same skills on the back end with maybe a few arguments touched in. We don't need to focus on that right now. Then the third part of these are the connectors, and this is just either your MCP or your API keys, because obviously as part of our skills and whatever it is that we're building for a business, they are going to be talking to external systems as part of these workflows. So these three components essentially form our plugin or business in a box model over here. So let's set the scene here a little bit with the prac. Now we're in my environment here, and let's say that we went out to a client, we identified that they have a problem with their sales and marketing team. They have several constraints that we want to address, and we've done our entire consulting methodology on them already. So we've identified that these problems exist and we can solve them with our business in a box solution. So we obviously need to get the skills written first, because that is exactly what we're going to be using to solve their problems. That step-by-step process or repeatable solution that takes away all of their manual work and accelerates whatever it is that they're doing. Removes their constraints essentially. So we've identified that and we think to ourselves, okay, cool. So now we want to turn this into a repeatable solution. Sales and marketing teams all seem to share the same problems at the moment. While every business is distinct and you should be tailoring the solution to everyone, you should also know that for the most part, everybody is using LinkedIn outreach to some degree. Some businesses use cold email. You get the point. There are moving parts within this and slight nuances per business, but for the most part, you can bake in a repeatable model because of how easily your skills are interchangeable. And if you are a domain expert, it makes it even easier for you because you're probably doing this yourself, in which case you're just packaging what you've already been doing for ages. But we're here to focus on plugins. So let's come back to our sales and marketing. We've identified the exact skills that they're going to need for their business. So then we need to turn it into the plugin structure, because until we can do that, we don't have this distribution model. So we come down here and you'll see that I now have a folder called Sales Marketing Ops. And I identified the exact skills that I need in order to distribute to this business. If we come and take a look down here, we've got the content pipeline, the content writer, the email digest, the meeting prep, and the research lead. These are some of the most common things that you'll see across sales and marketing. They're just skills and all of the resources that we need. But you might be asking yourself, cool, so do I have to do this stuff manually? And the answer is no, because there are meta skills for everything. You can have a skill creator that can create you any skill. So that's how we created most of these alongside my domain expertise that I already had in several of them. But then when it comes down to packaging, you just use the plugin builder to take the exact skills that you want and bundle them into a package based on Anthropic's best practices. And that's all we did down here. I just spoke to this thing. I said, I want to build a sales and ops plugin. Bundle up email digest, research lead, and content pipeline and content writer. And then what I would do is I would just hit enter. Claude would go and read the skill that we have for plugin builder, which, as you can see here, is just a step-by-step guide telling it exactly how to make Claude plugins so that we can use them as these repeatable systems. After we've done that, we get this neat little structure down here for sales and marketing ops with our Claude.plugin. And this is where things need to be done a very specific way. Your plugin will not load into Claude Co-Work if it's not done in this exact way. You need to have a marketplace.json. And all this thing does is it just gives it a little bit of description about what this plugin does and what's involved in it. So you can see here we've got name, sales and marketing ops, description, complete sales and marketing operations system. It lists a few things inside there. The name, Mansel, that's just who authored it. And then the plugins. So name, source, description, and the version. And this is just so that Co-Work can read it. Then we have our folder for sales and marketing ops, and inside there we have another Claude plugin with the plugin.json. And again, it just reiterates some of that information. We then have our commands, and these just tie in with our skills. You can see here it's got an arguments placeholder because you can add specific arguments to the skill before it runs when you do / content pipeline, for instance. And then we have our skills with everything that we need inside them bundled up, ready to go for this business specifically. Obviously, you wouldn't be packaging anything as a plugin until you have tested it inside the IDE to make sure that the workflow actually works. You want to have all of your testing done before you do any of the packaging, obviously. So we have our skills locked in here. And then we have an mcp.json. And all this thing is doing is telling it what MCP servers we're using as part of this plugin bundle. So you can see for this, we're using Gmail, Slack, and Notion. Maybe you would have more, maybe you would have none. You can also include your own APIs inside your scripts. Of course, these Python scripts over here are doing all sorts of things as part of this lead research because there are a lot of systems that might not actually have MCP yet. There is the possibility to create your own connectors and your own MCP servers that you can add to Claude as well if you wanted to go down the MCP route for literally everything that you have in there. But not everything always needs an MCP server or MCP, so that's something you need to consider as well. Then we have our connectors.md, and this just tells you how tool references work. So plugin files use category as a placeholder for whichever tool the user connects in the category. And just a brief explanation over here. So instead of you having to explicitly say, use Gmail for this, use Slack for that, it has placeholders over here. And then it tells the included servers. So that's why we've listed this stuff in here. And then any API key-based services as well, they're mentioned below here. You can see part of our sales and lead research workflow. We're using Relevance AI, and then my project ID and API key are referenced over here, which just relate back to the Python scripts down here. And if at this point you're thinking, well, I don't know how to map all of this, again, you don't have to do that. This plugin builder skill is going to be doing that for you. So don't stress too much. I didn't do any of this manually. Then finally, just to readme.md, this is more for the users out there so that they can see exactly what this thing does, how to install it, what skills are included, and things like that. But then all that's left to do is to distribute this. And there are multiple ways that you can do this. In the long build video that I did, we used the manual method, just adding it and then browsing from a file location. You'll see that's why we have a .zip over here. In this one, what we're going to do is we're going to do the GitHub repo method. So I've connected this environment to Git, obviously using AI, and I would just say to it, upload my sales and marketing ops to our GitHub repo so I can use it in Co-Work. It would then go and do that, and it would give me a link that we can use to paste into Co-Work. So I'm going to grab that link, and then we're going to flip over to Co-Work, and I'm going to show you exactly how you would connect this to the business that you just sold it to. Alrighty, and here we are in Co-Work. So all we need to do is head on over to Customize, and you'll see we've got some skills and some connectors in here. And then you have options, so you can browse plugins. This is what already exists out there in the wild. There's probably going to be a much larger marketplace that you can lose, and there are definitely GitHub repos that you can already connect to this. So that's something you need to keep in mind. It's technically commoditized already because anyone can just come in here and find stuff. Your value in this model isn't just doing something like this and trying to get $5 out of it. It's literally starting with the consulting methodology. You need to have the domain expertise, or at least understand their problems at a fundamental level, so that you can then turn them into solutions and guide them through that process. Business in a box isn't just about connecting a bunch of things together. It's about solving very specific problems, addressing a company's needs, and showing them that you're the person that can walk them through this, so that they end up with this amazing tailored approach for their team. So what we're really doing here is bridging our technical knowledge, our domain expertise, our critical thinking, and we're turning it into a bundled system for people so that they can just have a turnkey solution. One thing you should never do is focus on the tools. Plugins are not the amazing thing here. The amazing thing is what plugins enable us to do as a business, as a consulting business, whatever type of business you decide to do. These are just an enabler. They form part of your business, not the entire business. But I digress. So we have this marketplace already, but your value comes in here with this personalized approach. And what you can do is you can add your marketplace from GitHub. Right now, we just pushed the exact apps that our imaginary business needed. And we can come down here to add marketplace by URL. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in where we uploaded it to. We uploaded it to my repo over here, and then sales and marketing ops. And you can see here this marketplace is already added. I added it during testing phases, but this would obviously just sync for you. And you'll see over here, here is our tab. So this is our sales and marketing ops that we just built in the IDE, and we want to now bring it into a new business. So you can just hit install, and you can see there it's pretty instantaneous. It's now loaded everything. We've got our commands, and we've got our skills that we needed as part of the system. So if we look down here, everything that we had in the IDE is now in here. We've got our commands as they should be. We've got our connectors, so Gmail, Notion. Now there might be some nuances where they might not have an MCP server, or you would need to come in here and just reconnect their MCP server. But honestly, if 98% of the work is already done for you, clicking connect up at the top here to connect a Gmail account or something like that is honestly very minimal work. And then down here is the skills, which is obviously the most important part of all of this, because these are the actual workhorses. But you can see they're all here. And obviously we didn't really configure anything for this example, but the point is if you did, they would all be living in here and running as they should. Then once we've done that, we're essentially good to go. Obviously we need to do testing and make sure that the users can actually follow this journey that you set out for them. But again, that is part of the tailored consulting approach that you're going to be doing for these people. You're going to be training their team, guiding them on how to use this. More importantly, focusing on the change management, because this stuff is easy. The how is so irrelevant now because AI can do anything. So the only thing that matters for you is the why are we doing this? And then I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Because people are afraid they're going to lose their jobs, they're going to be replaced. Some of them just hate it and refuse to use it for several other reasons and cognitive distortions. But your job as a leader or domain expert is to guide them to the promised land, not by focusing on this, but by focusing on addressing how this makes their life better, not worse. And that is pretty much it in a nutshell. I mean, now we just come back over here and I can do /email digest if I wanted to, and that would run off the process. Or I could speak to this thing and say, hey, what's happening in my email inbox today? And it would go and run the process for us. We obviously didn't set anything up in this example, but it remains the same. It's literally that easy to do. The hardest part about this is building those skills and iterating those skills in VS Code to make sure that they do the same thing every single time they are run. You need to make sure you're doing your functional testing. More importantly, you need to make sure that you're testing this with the client's data, with their systems. Do not do it on your laptop 5 times and say, cool, this works, man, we're good to go. Use their data, use their users, have them walk through this, because everybody works in a different way. You want to make sure you're capturing their context. That is where your value is. Hopefully from a business perspective, you can see how useful this is for you as well. I didn't just want to do another video where we do /plugin marketplace thing, because there's enough of that on YouTube already. The opportunity is clear for both the builder and the business, and it's up to you guys to work together, one as the consultant and one as the business needing these services, in order to get a business that runs efficiently pretty much by itself, because you can schedule all of this as well. You don't need to come in here and do this. You can run scheduled tasks now. You can run headless agents in the backend here via your IDE. You can connect it to agent teams. So many different workflows that can be done here. Anyway, hopefully this video was helpful. If you need any help in your journey, I do have a community that covers all of this stuff. Otherwise, leave some comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Check out the videos on the screen right now. Thanks very much for watching. See you in the next one.